screen is up.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. This is Tommy Norris of Green Prisons, and we want to welcome you back to the second webinar of 2012. This one is I think, going to be probably one of the most informative we've done. And we're going to be taking a look at lighting and both interior and exterior, and savings and enhanced security. Sometimes the assumption is that some of these efforts on sustainability could negatively impact security, and if that were the case, then we shouldn't be doing them. But we're real fortunate today that we've got some experts on both sides of that discussion, and we'll be able to hear what two systems have done. The webinar series between now and our symposium in October is based on the 7 steps to sustainability and corrections that was developed by Paul Sheldon. I hope you, I encourage you to stay with us throughout the webinar. At the end of the webinar, we're going to talk about some ways that you can save some additional dollars, so be sure and hang with us to the end. Today we've got 16 states represented, including 2 county facilities out of Miami-Dade and St. Charles, Louisiana. So we welcome you folks, and again, would encourage you to share with your friends. This is sustainability isn't something that just applies to large institutions. It in fact impacts everybody. The first webinar that we're going to do in the 7 steps is lighting, as I said before, and we chose that because it's one of the biggest consumers of energy in the correctional budget. Certainly, there are a lot of options as it relates to lighting, from the low-hanging fruit of swapping out light bulbs and some of that kind of stuff that you can see an immediate impact in your utility budgets, to the more to the larger, more grandiose approaches that include high mass lighting, exterior lighting, etc. And it is those areas that we're going to focus on today. We're going to look at 2 systems, Michigan and Indiana, and their very similar yet different approaches to the issue of lighting their facilities. And it'll give you a chance to listen and explore with them why they chose the particular option that they did. The realities are that there are a lot of different ways to approach lighting renovation, and what this one is designed to do is just to acquaint you with 2 of them. The Green Prisons will never particularly endorse any particular product, but will in fact hopefully present you with a number of options, either through webinars like this or through our symposium, our marketing, our newsletter, and a variety of other things. I note that we've got 15 vendors on board today. At least a half a dozen or so, or as I look at them, appear to be lighting companies. So I think you can see that this is a good way to get the word out on your different systems. Again, this is not, by no way, an endorsement of the systems that these agencies took. Rather, it's to make you aware of a couple of different approaches that were done by correctional agencies, and hopefully from this you'll learn a little bit about the pros and cons of their approach. You can learn more about different other different options by keeping an eye on our website at greenprisons.org and checking out some of the lighting companies and others they hopefully share their information through our advertising and marketing efforts. This month's presenters, we've got some changes in the lineup. Prison work being what it is, sometimes you actually have to stay there and run the institution, or other things come up. But we are very fortunate today to have Jim Basinger of the Indiana Department of Corrections, who is, I hope I don't get this wrong, Jim, but is the Director of Adult Institutions. In lieu of Kevin Orm, Kevin's assistant, Mike Callahan, is going to be with us, and between the two of them, they're really going to talk about the facility side and the technical side and the security side of the lighting systems that they've adopted. So I think you'll find their discussion very informative. Ed Vlad of the Michigan Department of Corrections also had a schedule conflict today, but in his place, Jerry Elmblad, who's now retired from the Michigan DOC, but at the time was in charge of this particular project, and so we're pleased to have Jerry with us and appreciate him jumping in at the last minute. Ed's need to bow out was sort of short notice, and we certainly understand why he can't be with us today. We're going to handle questions the way we usually do in this, and to go over that process, I'll turn you over to the lady who will be managing that, and who will allow you to make your questions known when they occur. Ann, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure, thanks. Welcome, everyone. I know a lot of you have participated with us before, but for those of you who haven't, you have a couple of options for getting our attention. We are going to save all of the questions till the end of the presentations, just so we can be respectful of everyone's time and get through the program. But you have the option to raise your hand, and we will recognize that you do have a question, but the best option is to actually type your question into the place for questions. I will see those, and we'll hang on to those until the end. Oftentimes I will ask you to, I will unmute you. Everyone is muted now. So you can speak your question so everyone can hear it. If there are several questions that are the same or similar, I'll generally just ask that question myself. And one of the most common questions is, will this information be available later on? The answer to that question is yes. The greenprisons.org website has a webinar archive where you will have the audio and slide presentations available to you at your convenience. So on that, Tommy, do you want to take it back?
Absolutely. Thank you, Ann. Let's go ahead and get started. Jim, I'm going to turn this over to you and the folks that you've got with you to start talking about the projects and what you did with lighting in Indiana. Jim Basinger.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tommy. And then on behalf of the Indiana Department of Corrections, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to present what we've experienced at our facilities. The particular facility we're going to talk about is Wabash Valley Correctional Facility, and we are utilizing some of these technologies and lighting at other facilities as well as we kind of develop our best practice and what's going to work.
Jim, can you get a little closer to your microphone? We're losing you a little bit.
All right, can you hear me?
That's better.
All right, so we're going to be talking about Wabash Valley Correctional Facility and the different technologies that we're using that we think are going to be most appropriate, and then look at where the best application is. This first slide on here with lighting alternatives just gives you an example of some of the places where we've placed these new lighting systems, and you can go ahead and move to the next slide if you like. All right, this is a side-by-side comparison of the administrative offices where we've had fluorescent lighting projects before, and it just gives you an example of the lights on the left and the lights on the right. Tom, can you go ahead and advance?
Yeah.
So you take a look at the slide presentation. Basically, we took the 34-watt T12 bulb and a 2-ballast fluorescent system, on the left, and we replaced that with an energy-efficient 28-watt T8 2 bulb with 1 ballast system. We're saving a little bit on the wattage with that bulb, and we're getting a lot better, wider light in those office areas. It looks like we did some measurements. We went 33-foot candles. The office area on the right with the TA system is 75.6. And it's not really very, very clear, but you can see a difference with the reflection on the floor between the office on the right and the office on the left. And we're going through our facility and making those changes and running some pilots just to see how long those bulbs are going to last and what the actual cost savings is going to be. The replacement on these bulbs, the lifespan on them is about the same, but we think we get with the less wattage and the brighter light that we're getting in the T8 that it's going to serve us a lot better. And you can advance. This is back in our maintenance shop, and you can see the difference between the two different style of lights we have. We had the high-pressure sodium lamps back there, and we replaced them with 66 plasma high bay light fixtures. And this shows you the difference in the actual visibility in that area. We've got the kind of the yellow glow with the old style, the sodium, high-pressure sodium, and then with the plasma, we get a lot brighter, wider white light there. Roger, are you on?
Yes, I am.
You want to go ahead and expand on that, on the benefits in the maintenance area that you got from that?
Well, one of the benefits that we noticed, the first thing was we monitor with cameras the entire maintenance shop. The offenders are wearing a khaki uniform, which kind of blends into the high-pressure sodium lamps. With the plasma, every detail is picked up, every color is picked up, so the visibility, even through cameras, is greatly enhanced. The other thing, too, is it makes it a lot better working atmosphere because the light intensity actually brings everything out more into view. So along with the energy savings, we're also visually getting a lot of good quality.
It looks like we're saving 10,560 total watts by switching over to the plasma. And we've not had any problems with those since we've installed them. Roger, how long have those been in there now?
They've been in there approximately 3 months now.
3 months. And what we expect is that, one, we're not going to have to go in and we're not going to have to replace those as often. On top of the energy efficiency as far as the 50,000 hours for the bulb, that we will, if we got to change a bulb every 6 months or every year, obviously this increased lifespan is going to greatly reduce our workload, so we can focus on other things. If you can look on the slide that's on there now, if you look to the picture on the right, and that's an actual photograph of our monitors and the different cameras that are displayed, the views from each camera. The one in the center is a plasma lit area. So we have plasma lights in that area as compared to the kind of the pinkish yellow on the other areas where we have the regular bulbs. What we got, T12s in there, or with a high pressure sodium. So if you could advance to the next slide, Tim or Tommy. Go ahead and advance. Now the other thing that we did is we have approximately 1,700 cells, and we went through all our cells. We took out the small condensed fluorescent bulb, and we replaced that with an LED bulb. And what we figured is we're getting, at one time we were replacing those fluorescent bulbs about every year. So on an average, Roger was having to replace, I don't know, what'd you say, Roger, 30 a day or something like that?
I would say probably throughout a week, we were probably doing at least 20 a week.
And with the LEDs, have we had to replace any of those?
I probably replaced 10 since we put them in.
And we've had them in, what, almost a year?
A year and a half ago.
Right. So we've had a lot of success with those. Now, there is a downside to the LED bulbs that you need to know about. If it's an overhead light fixture where the LED light projects straight down, it's a good application. However, if it's in the wall and it's projecting, is it towards the cell door, Roger? Is that
yes.
Where we had to switch back?
Yes.
So if it's a wall-mounted application, it does not illuminate the room kind of the way we would like it to, or as bright as we like it to. So in 72 of those cell areas, we've actually went back and we've put in the fluorescent tube. And the cost usage of these, they use the LED uses less kilowatts, but their fluorescent tube is a good bulb as well as far as energy savings. However, we got to replace the LED lights on a regular basis, or excuse me, the fluorescent lights annually, and that takes a lot of man hours. We got to go into the cells, we got to take the inmates out, the whole process that goes along with that. So with the right application, that LED night light has worked in about 90% of our applications at the facility, and we're pretty impressed with it. Now we're talking about maybe getting a little brighter wattage on that bulb and see how that works out. Roger, you got any more to add to that?
No, except that we're going from, if cost savings over 1,700 cells, we're going from 9 watts on the fluorescent to about 2, a little over 2 on the LEDs. So when you combine that with 1,700 cells, that's quite a bit of wattage savings.
And did we'll be able to gather the numbers on the total savings for the last year?
I'm still going through all those numbers.
Okay. If anybody's interested in that, we can give that to you after the presentation. All right, Tommy, you can go ahead and switch slides. All right, this is a side-by-side comparison of the previous bulbs we had with the high bay lights, and we had the halide lamps, and on the left side is where the halide lamps were at, and on the right side is where we replaced them with the high bay plasma light. And Roger, you want to go ahead and talk about what you had to do to replace them and what the benefits were?
Yes. Each one of these day rooms contained 30 175-watt metal halide lamps. And what we've done is we reduced the number of lamps in there to 13 by using the plasma. And we positioned those in a certain way that it actually distributes the lighting throughout the entire day room. So we went from 30 to 13, and when you figure it just on one side of our campus, there are 5 houses. We're talking about reducing the number of lamps from 300 to about 130. You get a little bit more wattage on the plasma lights, but because of the reduction in the number of lights, there's going to be considerable savings. It also goes back to camera work, what the officer in the control pod is seeing on his monitor. The plasma, everything stands out much better. The metal halide lamps usually has a darker glow to it, and things are a little more visually hard to see. So along with the visual aspects, we're also looking to save quite a bit of wattage by reducing the number of lamps in these day rooms dramatically.
And I'll tell you, there's no trick photography here. These pictures were taken at the same time by the same person. He basically just took one out of the left side and one out of the right side, and he just put them together on his PowerPoint. The other benefit, obviously, is when you're working a night shift and you've got a brighter, wider light, that's going to affect your morale and your actual working environment for your staff. There's a downside with these as well, because of the plasma or the white lights will project a little bit of a shadow. So you've got to make sure that you position those appropriately to meet your needs. And those light fixtures can be adjusted about 2 degrees, I think. Is that about right, Roger?
Yes, they're adjustable. Actually, we've had them adjusted up to 10 degrees.
Okay.
But of course, there again, that plasma light is more omnidirectional. You don't get the dispersal of light like you would with more of a dome-shaped lens. But they are fully adjustable up to about 10 degrees. Now, our maintenance department installs these. It's a very simple thing. We're connected right straight into the system of the metal halide lamp. So as far as maintenance costs are concerned, they're easy to install, and I think in 2 days we can have all 13 lights up in one day room and have it completely changed over.
And you installed these yourself, right?
Yes, we did.
Okay, we just had a factory rep come in and kind of just show us what needed to be done, and you went ahead and installed them. Is that correct with your staff?
Yes, the bracketing and everything we make right here in our shop, and all they do is furnish the lamp, and we go in and put it in.
All right. I got Mr. Callahan, who's the Assistant Director for Construction Services, and we're really looking at, we're really impressed with the outcome of this particular cell house and that lighting system. And what we're looking at doing is expanding this to the other cell houses, one cell house at a time. And I think we're looking at some kind of performance-based contracting with those folks.
Right. Performance-based contracting makes the initial outlay much more palatable, so to speak. There's a little bit of expense there, but with the performance-based contracting, payback will come around much quicker.
So we're, based on the energy savings, we think this is the right thing to do. Tommy, can you go ahead and advance to the next slide? This is another example of the lights inside that cell house. This is a lot better example. You can see the light on the right, the pictures on the right are the plasma, as opposed to the ones on the left are the traditional light fixtures. And of course, with the was it about 3,000, about 3,900 watts we're saving there.
Yes.
Roger.
Yes.
Okay, so and again, you can see it's a lot clearer from the camera's point of view. And then this next slide here has an offender on the left side standing in front of the door and an offender on the right side standing in front of the door. And obviously, we didn't change any camera lenses. We didn't enhance the video or the digital picture. It's just that this is a snapshot and shows you the better quality that you get with that plasma light or the white light. All right. And again, here's another before and after. And then I want to talk about the high mass lighting prototype that we're using. Roger, you want to go ahead and talk that piece?
Yes. What we have presently is 1,000-watt high-pressure sodium lamps, and these are restrike bulbs. And what we did was change them out to a 775-watt metal halide. We did have to add 150-watt restrike bulbs and controllers because the bulbs in this kit didn't have the restrike. This lamp has been up for well over a year. We've never changed a bulb. We've never changed any part that we put into it. Generally, on the 1,000-watt high-pressure sodium, we're probably changing anywhere from 15 to 20 every 4 months. With these lamps here, we're probably expecting at least 2.5, 3 years before we would have to change anything.
And the other thing is that we have to go in. We have to take the light down. We've got to shut down movement in that area because of the equipment. And then when you're bringing that halo down and raising it back up, you're running a risk of it's not latching properly. We had one that didn't latch, and we had to have a company come in with a high lift and fix that. So the longer we can keep those halos up and not moving them up and down, the better off we are.
Yes, the other thing is the cost of the 1,000-watt high-pressure sodium lamps, very expensive. They probably range in the neighborhood of $45 to $65, depending on the market prices. And of course, when you're buying those and ballast and other lighting fixtures, that could be a big savings by not having to go in and change these. Like Mr. Basier said, there's a lot that goes on to change one of these, and the less maintenance we have to do on them, the more money we're going to save there too.
So again, we haven't touched this light in a year. The one thing is it was kind of a cost-neutral replacement. We like the bulb, we like the system, but the cost savings after we bought the product and installed it, it really wasn't there. It just kind of balanced out. So we had some problems with the budget agency wanting to finance additional lights of this particular type. Now, I think this is an excellent application for new construction. If you got an opportunity to put these type of bulbs in, I would go with this as opposed to the older style that we have displayed next to it. And again, the benefits, staff out there on night shift, it's a lot brighter and it's a lot wider. you're gonna help their work environment and their morale a lot better. A lot better. Again, it does cast some shadows, so you have to look at bulb placement and angles and make sure that you identify any deficiencies. And you just angle that bulb out there, and it pretty much do a direct shine on it, and you can fix that problem. And we can go to the next slide.
Yeah. That's your last slide, Jim.
All right, good deal. Again, we'll have all these available, and if anybody has any questions or would like to come take a look at the site, we're more than welcome to have you. Just get a hold of me and or through you, Tommy, and we can set up some type of site visit.
That's great. We do have a couple of questions, but I think we will go ahead and still hold those until after Jerry's piece and take a look at the Michigan system. I would tell you, for any of you that are anywhere close to Indiana, if you're considering lighting changes or anything else as it relates to sustainability, they've got a lot of good things going on up there. They're constantly looking for new approaches to saving money, and I think you hear from Jim the clear message that if it doesn't make sense for security, they're not going to do it to compromise to save a few watts when they change back to the fluorescents from the LEDs in the cell house or in the cells. I really appreciate you guys. If you all will stand by, and now we're going to move ahead to Jerry Umblad, who's sitting in for Ed Valad this morning, and I have to do a disclaimer. The opening slide here actually comes from a facility in South Carolina, but it was provided to us to demonstrate the lighting capacity of the kind of exterior fluorescent lighting that Jerry's going to be talking about. So, Jerry, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, and thank you, Tommy. Yes, when we first looked at this type of lighting, and this is the only type of lighting we're actually going to be talking about today, is back in about 2004 when LEDs were really expensive. We knew, like Indiana, that we wanted to bring in the blue spectrum of lighting to give you the white light so that we could see the facial descriptions, numbers on the back, so on and so forth. For the security aspect, it became very important to us. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to get rid of the orangey glow light and test out this type of lighting, because we knew that we were in a colder climate area. We didn't know for sure if it was going to work in that kind of climate. We knew it did work in South Carolina, but Michigan is a little bit different in their weather. And we wanted to bring in the white spectrum as an alternative, as a cost savings measure compared to what then was very expensive lighting with LED. We also know that we have induction, we have plasma, we have LEDs, and now we have fluorescent lights that give you the bright white light. And this picture here shows you what you can have. If you go back to some of the pictures that Indiana has, it gives you a very good showing of what you have with the white light compared to the orange light. Security people by far like it a lot more. The camera systems work better. Everything is just better. So that was the avenue that Michigan was going to go at. Not saying we're going to use fluorescent lighting, but we wanted to test it in a cold climate. And it was very successful. As of today, we know of no failures. What this type of lighting actually did for us is it gave us a redundancy. It has several bulbs in it, so that if a light goes out, you don't necessarily lose the 100% lighting in that area around the perimeter for the facility. It's quite similar to LED. If a diode goes out in an LED, you don't notice it as much, but it's something that you'll have to get to eventually. But in Michigan, we have got a policy that if a perimeter lighting system goes out or fails, it has to be replaced, I believe it's in 24 or 48 hours. So with us with snow, that creates a lot of problems, and we're hoping that with the the different tubes of lights that are in the fluorescents, that would eliminate the need to go for emergency purchases to get people to get in there and repair the lights. What we did do for this facility is we used TA fluorescent security fixtures, and we replaced the high pressure sodium, so we got the white light. It was a cost reduction of approximately 45% is what we're shooting for. I right now don't know what it came out to be, but I know that we use the incentives from two forms. One was the ERA funds that we had that came out. We used some of that money to do a project. We also, once we did some projects, we got the incentive refunds or from the utility companies to help finance the rest of the project, along with other projects as well. The main thing was for us, like I said, when we used that, was to test that system out. We've got a lot of LED lights out there. We have several induction perimeter fence light systems out there, and now we're looking at the fluorescent lights. They all give us the white light, which is very important to us, and now we're looking at what is the most cost-effective way to go forward. And that's hard to do right now. We realize that because with the tsunami hitting us of LED lighting, those prices have come way down. So now we're always looking, or they are always looking at the best spend the buck to increase the safety and security for the facility. And with that, that's all that we're going to speak about from Michigan today, and thank you.
All right, Jerry, thank you. I think it's important to note here that different agencies in different jurisdictions are going to have access to different kind of funding mechanisms. And you heard Indiana talk a little bit about performance contracting, and certainly that's one option that is really gathering speed around the country. And if you are not familiar with that process, you can contact us here, or you can watch one of our webinars from last fall, where we talked a little bit about performance contracting and the virtual elimination of any upfront money if the contract's written correctly and you have a vendor who can provide the third-party financing for it. There really is no out-of-pocket cost to the agency. And then what was done in Michigan using utility incentive funds and taking those dollars and reinvesting them in new hardware to enhance lighting and to reduce cost. And like I said when we began, there's a number of approaches. Not all of them are going to be suitable. Jerry mentioned climate, but there's a variety of other issues, whether you're talking about lighting or HVAC, which we'll be talking about in March, or a variety of other things. You have to pick the solution that works best for you. And for vendors, it's obviously important to remind you to know how your product's going to react. A national company needs to know how it's going to work in Florida and how it's going to work in Minnesota, and if there are any differences. All right, we're going to move ahead to questions, and Ann, I know we have at least two, and I'm going to let you handle those. They both look like they're going to be for Indiana.
Right. There's a lot of questions about the plasma. I'll just run through them really quickly, and then if you guys want to address them. Is there a lot more glare from the plasma system? Are the light meter readings higher or lower with plasma? And how much heat does the plasma put out?
Roger, you want to tackle that?
Yes, the heat, there's actually a heat.
Roger, get a little closer to your microphone, please.
Okay, can you hear me now?
There you go.
Yeah, the plasma light has a heat sink part that's built onto it that dissipates the heat. You can actually go up and touch the fixture, and you can touch the lens, and you really don't get much heat off of that. As far as what was the other question, please?
Foot candles.
Oh, foot candles, greatly enhanced with the plasma. I think, not really sure what it was, but I think it was like the foot candles was almost 40 times higher with the plasma than the high-pressure sodiums that we replaced.
33 to 75 is what we got
Yes.
on the foot candles. And then the glare, I've not noticed any glare when I was in there, you know, in the unit, and I've not had any complaints from any staff about any issues with glare off the plasma light. Obviously, if you stare up into the bulb, it's going to be a little brighter, you know, and you'll get some effects from it there. But just inside the day rooms, literally, I've not received any complaints from the staff or the offenders, for that matter.
Yes, we've had those plasmas in our welding shop now for 4 months, and we've been working every day in there, and I've not heard that first complaint. Everything stands out a lot better. It actually makes it easier for the person working in there.
Great, thank you. And Larry Lietzo has a comment to make about the lamps used in Michigan. I'm going to unmute your mic, Larry, and you can just go ahead. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
Go ahead.
Yeah, just the lamps that were used in Michigan are a little bit different than the typical fluorescent lamps out and available in the market today, in that they are now having a 50,000-hour lamp life, but they also have a lumen maintenance factor of over 90% lumen maintenance. LEDs lumen depreciate, as you know, down to what they call L70, or 30% lumen depreciation, in between 36 and 50,000 hours. These lamps are, of course, much less expensive than an LED replacement lamp system would be, and I'm not sure about plasma. I do know that plasma is about 30 times brighter than an LED source, so good glare control obviously is what is needed. Fluorescent lamps, the reason we use them in a lot of offices is because it has a tendency to reduce shadowing, which of course is a problem in any sort of security environment. The same thing happens out of doors when you're using linear sources. You reduce the shadows, which increases the visual efficacy of the human eye to be able to function better in those environments.
And Larry, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself? Where are you from? Who are you working with?
Yeah, I'm president of the World Institute of Lighting and Development Corporation. We're out of Bradenton, Florida, and I've been involved in lighting for about 55 years right now. And we develop lighting systems as well as design applications. And we work with the federal government, state governments, and private industry as well. And our typical average savings is around 70% in lighting energy savings cost, but we actually save over 50 to 70% in maintenance costs too with these standard fluorescent lamps that are available from anybody. This is not a special lamp. Basically, it's a specially designed fixture system that takes the light from the fluorescent lamps and distributes it at a very wide distribution pattern to, again, reduce shadowing and the glare factors, which, of course, harm the human eye. Some of the other sources can provide if they're not properly lensed or diffracted. So just the importances of maintenance right now and maintaining light levels. The plasma, as I understand it, also lumen depreciates. I think the plasma does have a restrike time if you do have power failures. Fluorescent, of course, are instant on with a load savings of typically 70%. Michigan is saving 48%, but I think Mr. Emblad would also tell you that they have probably 2 to 3 times the light that they had with a high-pressure sodium system there, visually speaking. Is that right, Mr. Emblad?
You are correct.
And I think we've got another question that's come up probably for Jerry about fluorescence. You want to?
Yeah, I actually, I'm going to unmute Greg Johnson, and I want you to just expand on this question a little bit. He's asking about the flicker, and let me find you, Greg. Hang on one second. There you are. Okay, Greg, go ahead.
Okay. Well, actually, I just wanted to bring up, I mean, some of the times, one of the reasons why fluorescents are not chosen is because of flicker rates. And I know they've gotten a lot better. The technology's improved greatly. Where our group works primarily with induction because there is no strike time. It's very much similar to a fluorescent, except there's no electrode. so there's no flickering at all. If you have people who are susceptible to flickering in offices and things like that, sometimes it can be a good option.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask about the new fluorescents, because I've heard that the flicker rates have gotten a lot better in the reduction or the design. It will make the bulb go out when the rate drops below a certain amount.
Jerry, what in terms of users problems with that? Have you got anything you can share? I realize you're not there anymore, so I don't know if you have a long-term answer to that, but has flicker been an issue for Michigan that you know of?
It has. What we realized is that we did some wholesale changeouts in some areas, and it affected the cycles, or it affected what they call, created some dirty electricity, and actually the camera systems were the ones that picked it up the most for us. Now, like I said, being a state agency, sometimes we operate pretty slowly, so even though we were installing some technologies, we already knew that newer, better things were already out there. And the fluorescent industry itself did some upgrades, and they addressed those concerns for us and took care of it. Now, whether or not this actually takes place at the Thumb Correctional Facility or not is an answer that I do not have, as like you said, I'm no longer with the Michigan Department of Corrections, but nobody has said anything to me about that.
Okay, and Ann, looks like we picked up one more.
Yes, on the high mast lighting, was the entire halo changed out?
Yes, it was.
I think, Jim, that's probably for you guys.
It was a 6-lamp halo, and every lamp was changed out, and there is a quartz restrike bulb for each lamp, and also a restrike controller for each lamp.
Okay.
Okay.
And I want to add that we are still looking for other opportunities for high mast lighting. If anybody's familiar with anything and would like to let us know, we'd be more than happy to try it out as a test project.
And let me just add to that. I've had a number of lighting vendors contact me, particularly LED folks. And when we start talking about high mast is when the discussion starts to fade away. So if you've got a technology, particularly an LED based technology that will fit on an 80 to 100 foot pole, I think there'd be a lot of folks that would be interested in talking to you. Different systems are going to have different requirements. Not every system or every facility is going to need a light that high that might make LED more practical, or some other technology. So there's a lot of interest, I think, out there in high mast right now, and as Jim says, so if you've got a technology, you can share it through greenprisms.org, and we'd be glad to get the word out to folks.
Yeah, we'll use a candle and a tin can if it works.
I think candle making as a correctional industry probably went out at the turn of the century, but it's nothing saying it can't come back. I think we're out of. I don't see any other questions at this point. I'm going to give you about 10 seconds to get your hand raised if you've got one. Otherwise, we'll move on.
There's just one quick question about motion sensors in the facilities. Has anyone had experience with those and can speak to that?
We have some motion sensors at the Indiana State Reformatory out past the wall or the wall perimeter. And what we use them for is to identify anybody that may be walking onto the state grounds, and they're just basic motion detectors you'd buy at any hardware store. They're working for us. If the light comes on, we go check it out, basically. And it might be a small animal, or it might be somebody trying to traffic something onto the grounds.
Also in Michigan, we did quite an extensive review of it because we used them as a security enhancement. we had problems with people throwing drugs into our facility, so we use them that way. We also have put a entire perimeter on motion sensors. We tested that out about 5-6 years ago, and it was very successful. It wasn't very popular at the time, but once staff got, they saw that it worked, they actually liked the system. But again, it's the cost that really costs, because you have to change and have the instant on lighting. And in Michigan, we're predominantly high pressure sodium along our perimeter. So, and there's quite a few of those fixtures. And interior wise, we did quite a bit of motion sensor installation where we incorporated it where inmates are at. We also use dual technology where harmonics or sound activation is there along with the passive infrared. It just gives that added security of something that works.
Did you use motion sensors in administrative spaces as well, so that there's an efficiency with lights on, lights off when people are or are not using spaces?
Correct. Yes, we did. As a matter of fact, I carry a study around with me that I had done. It was quite surprising to me because of the savings that was generated. I never thought about it, but we took the data collectors, did a 2 or 3 week study, and then installed them, and it was very, very successful. But you got to have the right sensor. That's a priority. You just can't stick any sensor there. It has to be the correct sensor for the area.
And you determined that based on the research that you've done?
That's correct.
That's one of the things, and Tommy, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about this too, but one of the things that we find is always part of any discussion surrounding sustainability is the collection of data. And the lack of collection of data, it's difficult to determine what your needs are if you don't know what your current usage is, and we realize that in some cases it's difficult to determine that depending on your type of facility.
Absolutely, and thanks. If you are not currently tracking because you don't pay the bill at the local level or this, that, and the other thing, or for whatever reason, you're not tracking your various and sundry energy and water and gas and whatnot related bills, I strongly encourage you to do that, because very frequently when you get ready to want to talk about switching out a lighting system or a heating system or whatever, you can't know how much savings you're going to generate if you don't know what what you are using currently costs to operate. So I'm frankly always surprised that typically some pretty large and sophisticated systems, particularly at the institutional level, really don't know what their light bill is from month to month, for instance. And that's still a factor in our business. So if you're not keeping data, if you're not keeping records, not for nothing, but for 90 days, track your light bill. See what it is. Track your water bill. See what you're paying for those kinds of things. And then you can talk to folks in an informed manner when you get ready to look at other options. Do we have any other questions? We got time for about one more if there is another question. Do we have anything else, Ann?
It looks like a lot of the, there's a lot of specific information that you can delve into with each of these types of lighting and each of these specific situations. And I encourage you to contact Tommy to get you hooked up if there's someone that you heard speak that you're interested in learning more about some specific type of lighting or situation. We can definitely help coordinate that communication. So,
okay. Yeah, we'll go ahead and move on. We've got about 8 or 9 minutes left. One of the things that for those of you who would like to make more of a contribution, talk about what your experiences were, this, that, and the other thing, I encourage you to shoot me an email. We do a blog at least once a week that talks about different things that are either going on in the world of sustainability or that look at contributions or information that's been shared with us. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook or LinkedIn. And I know a lot of correctional practitioners are more geared to LinkedIn than the other two. And would encourage you, as we get information, we'll put it up there. For the vendors, we'd like for you to support what we're doing and make sure that we can continue to keep this website alive and these webinars ongoing, and you know, buy a little advertising space and share some of the information about your particular product. I want to move ahead real quickly and talk about the upcoming seminar or webinars and what we've got going. As I mentioned at the outset, we've got 8 or 6 more of these to do between now and the conference in Indianapolis and Plainfield in October. And next month we'll be looking at HVAC and the other 5 steps beyond that. If you've done some stuff in your agency that you're particularly proud of and would like to share information about, we encourage you to join us. On the other side of the margin, as I mentioned earlier, we need sponsors to be able to keep these things up. And you can sponsor either a single webinar, multiple webinars, or the series, or we will do basically an infomercial for you if you're interested. I also want to put in a plug for the Correctional Security Conference that will take place in Cincinnati in September. A lot of the topics we've talked about today, particularly around lighting, is important to the security operation of a facility. This is a conference now that's been ongoing for the last 8 years, and we encourage your participation in that as well. And speaking of conferences, we've partnered with the North American Association of Wardens and Superintendents, and NAS has offered us what I think is a pretty good deal. If you mention green prisons on your registration form, you can save $25. This is for participants to make it a little easier for you to get there. They've got a terrific lineup of workshops. They're going to tour the Medical Center for Federal Prisoners as a part of this. So if you're into healthcare side of the business, you don't want to miss that. Virtually all of your meals once you get there will be taken care of based on your registration. And it's just a good 3 days to get with some of the decision makers in our business from around the country, and we encourage you to support and participate in that, and be sure to take advantage of that Green Prisons discount. Finally, again, as I mentioned, you can join us to learn more about advertising on Green Prisons or how to share your success. The only way that we can put information out to the field is for the field to share with us what you're doing. So I think you can see these are less a slick production and more about 3 or 4 professionals sitting down and having a conversation. The only thing missing is a cup of coffee or the beer. So we really encourage you to join us. If registration is now open at greenprisons.org for the remaining webinars, and we hope you will join us in March, on March the 21st at the same time, when we take a look at heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, or HVAC. In closing, I really want to acknowledge the very, very significant contributions of both the Indiana and Michigan Departments of Correction. We could not have done this without them. Both of them continue to be a beacon in this effort to move corrections towards the sustainability. I sincerely appreciate Jerry and Jim and Mike and Roger taking time out of their schedules. They have systems to run as well, so I really appreciate them taking time out of their schedule to join us today. I hope you got something out of this month's webinar. Again, we'll look forward to talking to you in March, and with that, we'll close out for today and talk to you again on March the 21st. Thank you very much from Green Prisons.
Thanks, Tommy.